A super common question I've always been asked as a professional bike mechanic is, why are my brakes squeaking? Why are my brakes squalling? Why are they making so much noise? And can you please stop it? If you ride a bike, it's pretty much guaranteed that you've had this problem at some point or another, no matter what type of brakes you've got. Not only can it be embarrassing, but it can make you think there's something horribly wrong with the part of your bike that's meant to keep you safe. G'day viewers, my name's Ashley Malcolm, and I'm here to talk about why your brakes are making so much noise and how we can remedy it. It doesn't matter what type of bike you've got or what type of brakes you've got, the problem's the same, and so is the solution. You've just got to become the bike. Rim brakes, disc brakes, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. They make that horrible noise because they're vibrating when they're applied. Obviously that means the brakes aren't working to their full potential. We are going to have a little look at rim brakes, but we're mainly going to be talking about disc brakes today. You're going to want to stick around because later on I'm going to show you one of the tips that we've been using for over 20 years to stop brakes squealing. Part of the solution is something that the manufacturers of brakes and brake pads could be doing at production to make our bikes quieter and safer to use. So buckle your toe straps and let's jump straight into it. You can get rid of brake squeal by cleaning your pads and your rotors, by sanding them, by aligning your calipers, heating your rotors up, setting your brake pads on fire, rubbing mud in them, bedding them in, applying some sort of anti-squeal solution, and I'm sure there are plenty more. But you need to get to the root of the problem and do what I'm going to show you, along with anything else that might need doing, to eradicate the noise. Your disc brake pads need towing in, just like rim brakes do. All brakes will vibrate and make noise because the back edge of the pad hits the rim or the rotor first. You've basically got a 90-degree corner hitting on a flat surface, and that makes it judder, which is what your vibration is and what's creating the noise. Towing in eliminates this because the angle or the angled edge of the pad drags the rest of the pad onto the rotor or the rim. It's pretty straightforward on rim brakes, and the manufacturers even give us washers that are conical shaped on the pads so that we can do that adjustment. But how do you do it with disc brake pads? Like I said earlier, this is nothing new. High-end brake pads for motorbikes and cars, and racing pads for motorbikes and cars, come like this, straight out of the box. So what is it? You need to chamfer or bevel the edge of the pads where they're leading and trailing onto the disc or rotor. Having angled edges hitting the rotor stops them vibrating in the caliper, which is what those horrible howls are. You'll also get better braking performance because the pad's not being pushed back as much off the rotor. The way to do that to brake pads is to bevel them on a bench grinder. It doesn't matter whether you're putting in new brake pads or you've been using them for a while. As long as they've got a good amount of meat on them, you can do this to them to stop them squealing. Just make sure to leave enough on the edge so that the spring can locate there properly. This is a quick and easy job, and it'll probably take you longer to get your pads in and out of the calipers than it does to do it. Get your brake pads and take the leading edges off them at about 45 degrees, making sure you've left enough meat on there for the spring. If you don't have a bench grinder, find someone who does and get them to do it for you. If this has given you value, please smack the like button down the bottom and share it with your friends. A few years ago, Shimano pads started turning up with a beveled edge on them, and I really had to double take. But it turns out it was the bottom edge and not the leading and trailing edges. And they've basically done this so that it makes the rotor easier to get back inside the caliper when you're installing the wheel. It's exactly the same as the little aerodynamic wings you see on road bike brake pads. Come on, brake manufacturers, if you can do it so it makes the wheel easier to get into the caliper, why can't you do it to take away the annoying noise and make our bikes safer? Please comment on any aha moments you've had so I know what you're getting benefit from. Before you pop your pads back into the bike, I'm going to show you this other trick that we've been doing for the same amount of time to stop the vibration and the noise in your brakes. And you guessed it, it's something that motorbike and car mechanics do when they install pads. Put a bit of copper grease or anti-seize, whatever you want to call it, on the back of the pad. This does a few things. It lightly sticks the pads to the pistons while still allowing them to move around a bit. And it also helps dissipate heat when you're braking. This means less brake fade and it's not as detrimental to the fluid. Win-win. Any ideas for future videos you'd like, you can just put it down in the comments, or you can go to the community tab on the channel's page and you can have a look in there, and I'll put some few ideas up. And if there's not anything there that you want to see or you need to see something different, please just put a comment in there. Get the spring back between the brake pads, being careful not to get the copper grease on the front of the pads. Fit them back to the bike and get back out there with nice quiet brakes. You've just got to become the bike.